Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast. It's Mailbag Monday.
Woo!
I'm Jay Zawaski with Greg Boysen and Mario Tirabassi. Law's here.
Yo.
Pushing the faders, reading the questions, all that good stuff. We've got a ton of your questions to get to. This is definitely going into tomorrow's show. But a couple things to know about the week ahead.
Wednesday,
Thursday, we're going to talk to Cam Robinson from Elite Prospects.
We should all wear bandanas.
We should. I'm going to have mine stitched onto my head like Brett Michaels.
I mean,
Make them feel at home.
did you guys see my note in the? You guys sent the picture. It's like his headshot. He
Yeah.
looks like a.
This is LinkedIn.
I'm gonna be on Survivor season 47.
It's his
He'll win.
LinkedIn picture.
24/7.
If the challenge is hockey prospects, he's a shoe-in.
He's also like 6'7", which I didn't realize
he's
till we
very
met him
tall.
at like the draft.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
And
tall.
at the draft last year, he had his suit on and a bandana.
Bandana.
Oh.
The bandana is his life.
It's his look.
So we should all wear bandanas on
It's his
on
trademark.
Thursday.
I'll have to stitch a couple together to fit my giant head. So that's Thursday, Cam Robinson. Friday, we're going to talk to former Blackhawk Brendan Perlini, who has started his own podcast and had a really cool story about Jonathan Taves this year. So checking in with a former Hawk about the Colleton days and what it's
my
like to
God.
play with those
That was
dudes.
my favorite part about that clip that he posted was that he refused to even say his name.
He's
He
well,
said
and
the
he's
coach at the time.
still
Coach at the time.
still a current coach and still a current player. So they're towing a line. But I'm very very excited to talk to Brendan and hear what he's been up to.
Should be fun. All right, now that we've told you that, make sure you smash that like button for us. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube as well. Podcast listeners, there's been some changes on Apple Podcasts, so make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you got your notifications turned on, all that good stuff. Same deal on Spotify or wherever else you get your podcasts. And take 30 seconds to leave us a 5-star review on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We would greatly appreciate that. And with that, let's get into our bursting sack.
Oh my
mail.
God, there is so much mail, gentlemen. I don't know how you do it, but we have a lot of mail, and we're gonna start with.
Too much mail. I've heard that's a penalty in hockey.
I did not know.
Yeah, I'm the one carrying the sack. It is over full.
I'm laughing
Whoa,
at TR,
TR.
who is informing me where I
This is
used to work.
breaking news.
That's correct. I did used to work at the Score, TR. Thank you.
All right, we're going to start with, I know we start with the Discord questions, but today we have a couple questions that were related to last night's game, so I want to get there first. So this one comes from someone with a really long name from Twitter, and it's about the, Alex, sure. And it's a question for the mailbag. After the game is over, this is regarding the McDavid versus the
McDavid
Canucks.
murder last night.
Yeah, the cross-check in the face situation. After the game is over and things like this happen, can there not be penalties or kicked from next game or kicked out from next game? Seems wild. They kind of do whatever once the game is over.
I do believe you can get penalties after time expires.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really do anything except
That unless there's discipline
Right.
from the Department of Player Safety.
Well, and that's what's happening.
Right, yeah.
Zadorov got fined $5,000 for the first cross-check, and Carson Soucy has an hearing today. So chances are he will miss a game. So at that point, calling a penalty, you can, and it will go down as a penalty
at 20 minutes
in the
of
book.
the third period or whatever.
But that really doesn't do anything. But obviously, the Department of Player Safety has stepped in. You knew that was going to happen, especially when it's Connor McDavid.
Mm-hmm.
Cross-checking dudes after the game is not a good idea. But when you're cross-checking the best player in the game, they're going to look at that even more and say, hey, let's not do that. You know, Nikita Zadorov is a guy that toes that line. And he crossed it there. I mean, that was a good few seconds after the game was over. I thought his cross-check was far more egregious than Soucy's just because his was intent. It was, vicious, downward. That's intent to hurt. When you're doing that after a game, that's intent to hurt. Soucy ended up catching McDavid in the face, head area because he was already falling forward.
Right.
Because of the Zadorov
Zadorov
hit.
should pay half the fine, I think.
They both can afford it.
It was. I think Soucy is kind of getting screwed here because Connor McDavid took a two-handed swing at him on the ankles. And, yeah, I know you're Connor McDavid, but it also doesn't just allow you to slash whoever the hell you want because you wear number 97. Like, screw that, man. Like, he should be penalized too. Maybe not fined, but Soucy was responding to the slash, and it just so happened that when he went to cross-check McDavid in the chest, which happens 1,000 times every hockey game, that Zadorov had hit him from behind and he started going down. So Soucy was extending his stick at like chest level to basically shove McDavid back, and then Zadorov gets him from behind and McDavid goes down and catches it in the neck chin area. I don't know. I think Soucy's kind of getting a bad deal on this, but you're right. The league does need to protect its players, but you know what? McDavid was being a little piss baby in that moment. He was like, they lost. They're not expected to lose. Everyone, I don't know why Edmonton feels like they deserve to be crowned simply because they've got these great players on the team. Like, Vancouver's been really good, and they've put up a good fight against them, and goaltending's been the main story. Wow. But, like, he doesn't have the right, just because he's pissed and his team's losing, to throw a slash like that, too. Especially Soucy's a guy who's already hurt, and he knows that. It's a guy who's playing with a lower body injury. And McDavid knew that, too.
Soucy started the altercation, though. The slash on Soucy was a retaliation.
Sure. It's usually what gets called, though.
And it's after the game ended. That's where I think the league has the biggest problem, is that the game was over. Like, you can't go after guys after a game is over. Like, it's bush league. It's cheap. Could you imagine anybody on the ice on either of those teams getting hurt and having to miss the next game because
that would suck.
You got hit after the game was over. So, the league obviously didn't like, the Vancouver's job in that altercation. Maybe that has to do with the fact that they were the winning team. Maybe you just skate away. Hey, you just point to the scoreboard and skate away. Take your win.
Yep.
I mean, that's the ultimate comeback there. Someone wants to be mad at you, just, hey, we just won. I'm going to go congratulate my goalie. Yeah, see you next game.
Go have a beer. Yep.
Yeah. So, I don't know. No matter what happens, and I'm sure the next question has something to do with it, no matter what happens at this time of year, there's always an angry fan base out there because
yes.
And this time it's a weird one because it's the winning team's fan base that's mad. Usually it's the losing team's fan base that gets mad, as I'm sure we're just about ready to talk about.
The fact that this didn't end in two bench clearing brawls is fascinating to me because that's the best player on the planet getting murdered. I don't care who swung first or whatever. Like, you see McDavid go down. The fact that there's no dog pile on Soucy and Zadorov from the Oilers was that was the more surprising thing for me.
I think there's the leaving the bench rule that's in place.
Game's over.
I think it's
game's
still,
over. Everyone's on the ice, leaving the ice. Game's over. Everyone's on. What are they going to penalize you for? Leaving the bench. The game's over.
I think it carries over to something like that. So, I mean, you're not wrong, but I think if a guy comes in from the bench, even with the game over, you're probably looking at a serious suspension.
Can't suspend everybody.
They could try.
Yeah. I don't know. I was a little bit surprised there wasn't more of a reaction to that, too. Maybe there was a bit of, oh, God, is he, like, sometimes you see things that are really vile and you're like,
I guarantee
is he hurt?
Nikita Zadorov's going to have to cash in his seat
for
his
sure.
first shift on Game 4.
Yeah.
All right, that's coming. And
sure.
If you could take I can't believe I'm saying this, but if you can get Nikita Zadorov off the ice for a good chunk of time, that's a plus for you because he has been really effective in this series and in the postseason overall. He's been really good.
I would say last night was probably his worst game, and he was still pretty effective and still part of things. But yeah, it's
almost killed McDavid.
It's.
I mean, that's effective.
That was a crazy
series,
turn of events.
Sure.
That end of that thing was.
I didn't even
a lot going on.
After McDavid's goal, I didn't like him getting smacked into the side end boards, which that was also Zadorov, wasn't it? Or am I making that up? Who hit him after he scored? Because he went pretty hard into the boards.
Yeah, I don't remember which player that was.
I mean, he popped right back up, but I was like, damn, that seemed unnecessary.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is what happens this time of year.
This is what happens. Yeah, it's
people take liberties. People see how far they will push the envelope as far as they can. They will see what the referees are going to allow and what they're going to call. When they hit that threshold, they know exactly where to go.
What's a couple $5,000 fines for lifting the Stanley Cup?
It's true.
cheap.
I think
call.
guys will pay those fines to do whatever they can to win. So,
All right, let's go into the Discord. This is from Alan K. And he asks, the failed goalie interference challenge in the Boston versus Florida game, should the fans in the arena be pissed off about how the call was handled? Not the call itself. They are Boston fans. Of course, they're pissed the call didn't go for Boston. But in that situation, should the coach go scorched earth crazy on the refs to back his goalie? Fines be damned. Per other diehards, the NHL admits subjectivity in the call. Thanks to the other diehards. And then there was this also from Twitter, Adult Haircut Dave, watching Bruins Panthers. Please make the goalie interference rule make sense. What the fuck? This rule makes no sense to me.
Well, it doesn't. It's very vague, and it's open to interpretation, and that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Each person that views a play has their own interpretation of the rule because it's not black and white, because they've made it this murky gray thing. I wish as that when you do have a review and you do, whether it's upheld or overturned, I really wish the officials would give whatever the explanation that the league eventually give it in the arena, because the fans have no idea why it's staying or why it's being overturned. Explain it over the PA. And then I did I believe it was Don Sweeney in one of his fits of crying yesterday, said that he thinks that in the playoffs, the officials should host a post-game press conference too.
Yep.
I agree with that. I think that should be every sport,
every game.
and they should there should be someone from the press pool should go and, hey, what was that call? What was blah blah. They should have to explain themselves as well.
Yeah, they need Ed Hockey who explains everything every play.
Well, they got what's his face, Wes McCauley.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, every game. I mean, it's gotten ridiculous to the point where people are just like, NHL refs are bad, live with it, and that shouldn't be the case. Referees should be held accountable, and this game needs to be explained so we can all understand what the hell we're watching and what's being called.
That said,
the league does a horrible job of that.
They got the call based on the reading of the rule completely wrong. That should not have been a goal. The rule here is Rule 69.
Nice.
If a defending player has been pushed, shoved, or fouled by an attacking player so as to cause the defending player to come into contact with his own goalkeeper, such contact shall be deemed contact initiated by the attacking player for purposes of this rule, and if necessary, a penalty assessed to the attacking player, and if a goal is scored, it would be disallowed. So, who is the initial shooter? Forget.
Someone on the Panthers.
It doesn't matter. So the first shot gets saved by Swayman, and Bennett pushes Coyle into Swayman. The puck comes to Bennett, and he puts it in. Swayman can't move because he's got a teammate laying on top of him. Ergo, the rule has been broken. I think it was very, very clear.
I was very confused, but I also bet on the Panthers when they were down 2-0. So
Oh, yeah. No, I'm glad it counted.
Sure.
Because I'm rooting for the Panthers, but they absolutely, based on what the rule says, that play should be used as a rule to show you this is what we mean by Rule 69.
Nice.
If this happens, it's no goal, and they actually called the opposite. It is textbook.
Well, the Bruins will get something evened out their way, because that's what officials do in the NHL is they just make sure everything's even. One team gets a shit call, the other team will get a shit call.
There you go.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't find it. I saw it yesterday. There is an expansion of Rule 69, nice, where it goes in a little more detail, where it made more sense. I can't find where I saw it yesterday, but it doesn't matter now. It is what it is. It happened. The Bruins have far more problems right now than that one play. Like when the Panthers, knock on wood, eliminate them here in the next game or two, it's not going to be strictly because of that call.
No.
It's going to be the fact that the Bruins all of a sudden can't shoot the puck at all. Like they've got no offensive firepower right now. And not having Brad Marchand hurts as well.
I thought I was watching the Hawks.
Literally their fans are chanting "shoot the puck" during their power play. Like that's not a good sign.
Yeah.
That's got nothing to do with the refs. They've got other problems. And I also think Jim Montgomery has been exposed as not being the greatest coach that people think he is. He got out-coached by Sheldon Keefe in 3 of those 4 games. That's hard to do. And he's getting laps ran around him by Paul Maurice right now. I like Jim Montgomery as someone else who is in recovery. I like his comeback. He's able to get his demons in check. But, man, he's not had a good postseason from behind that bench. And I don't feel bad for Boston.
No.
And if you want to run some more laps,
Here we go.
you can do it in a brand new Chevy.
Ooh.
Make Ray Chevrolet your first draft pick for your new Chevy this May. Visit our partner to shop their Memorial Day sales event going on all month long at Ray Chevy on Route 12 in Fox Lake and at raychevrolet.com. As one of the top-selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest, you'll always be able to shop one of Chicagoland's largest Chevy inventories. Plus, you can find the perfect tailgate vehicle. Right now, get $10,000 off MSRP on new 2024 Chevrolet Silverados, or lease the new 2024 Chevy Trax for only $199 a month for 36 months. That's unbelievable. Or you could celebrate Memorial Day your way and shop over 125 of their vehicles priced under $20,000. And as you've heard, and if you've heard of Ray Chevrolet, then you've also heard the Ray's Price Promise. They're guaranteed to make your next vehicle more affordable than ever with no price changing, no add-ons, and no hidden fees ever. That means the incredible prices we're talking about now, you can expect to see the very same when you shop at Ray Chevrolet in-store or online. Shop the Memorial Day sales event all month long, visiting Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive. They switched it up this month.
Ooh, I like that.
Ooh.
You know what else I
Doesn't
like?
roll off the tongue.
Is playing on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports program in North America, and that's where we are. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against numbers, and get this. Caitlin Clark plays her first game tomorrow, the 14th. Prize Picks is offering a free square for Caitlin Clark's debut game on Tuesday. If she gets 1 point, the square wins. That's it.
Seems
1
like
point.
it.
1
Uno.
point. It's a free square. There's a timer on the square, so users must add it to the lineup before the timer ends before Caitlin Clark's first game. So if she gets at least 1 point, that square wins. So whatever you're doing on Prize Picks, even if you're playing tonight's games, you can go add that Caitlin Clark 1 point feature right there, and then once Caitlin makes her free throw or her three-pointer or whatever it might be to get the single point.
I'm guessing that's going to happen within the first
I would think so.
8 seconds.
She's probably they're going to win the tip-off. She's going to pull up and make a half-court three just to announce her presence with authority. So that's basically a free square. So jump on that ahead of tomorrow's game, Indiana Fever game. So it's a lot of fun. What you do is the more players you play, the more you can win. So it's, more points for hockey, shots on goal, penalty minutes, points, goals, assists. It's so fun. It's a lot more fun to play the mores than the lesses, but you're going to love it either way. It's such a great way to play daily fantasy sports. Like, for example, you make a $10 deposit, and you could turn that into $1,000 if you hit enough. It's a super fun way to play. So go to prizepicks.com/CHGO and use code CHGO for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/CHGO and use that code CHGO. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. And hey, we've got a lot of people watching and not a lot of likes hit. So please, if you're watching on the YouTube page, hit that like button right underneath the play button. It's that thumbs up. We would really, really appreciate that. It helps us out big time. All right, Law, want to get back to the mailbag here?
Yes, it's still very heavy, so let's keep going. Next up, we are going into the Discord. Thank you, diehards, for sending these in. This is from Sung Hyun 86. At the second pick, who would be the best player to complement Bedard to make a scoring dynamic duo as Taves and Kane before?
Sounds like the Rangers in Demidov.
That's your answer.
Yeah. Well, and as far as we need a Kane and Taves duo, I mean, maybe you're just saying that as that was the best two players.
Yeah, it's a duo.
But as far as like getting the Taves type of player, that's going to be a lot harder to do.
Yeah.
At least like very few players were ever able to come in to the league and be a complete 200-foot player like Jonathan Taves did. Those are usually things that guys grow into, evolve into. But if you're looking for like you just a 1-2 punch, then yeah, Demidov is definitely the guy. You can get your dynamic duo that way.
I think so.
All right. Well, Rooney, thank you, is also interested in how this draft equates to Bedard. So Rooney says, you hear the idea of partnering Bedard with a quote-unquote pass-first winger. Outside of the obvious, how would you describe this stylistically? What are some example pairings around the league, and who in free agency would fit that description?
Well, somebody who would be pass first on the wing. I would say Nikita Kucherov is a guy that does that. Mitch Marner is a guy that does that at elite levels in the league that you would drool over pairing with a guy like Connor Bedard, who has the kind of shot and offensive abilities that he does. But as we've learned in the 1 year's time that we've known Connor Bedard so intimately, he doesn't just want to rely on his shot and be one-dimensional. He wants to also distribute the puck along with potentially putting up 40-plus goals. So, I don't know. I don't feel like the idea has to be, okay, Bedard's the finisher. They need a setup guy. Like,
yeah.
I feel like Bedard is going to be a guy who can offensively, creatively, he wants to create his own shot. We've seen him be able to do that with the Blackhawks. We saw him do it earlier this weekend with Canada. Like, he has the ability to shoot and score on his own, as well as be, the beneficiary of a setup guy. He's also going to want to set up other people. Like, he loves to be a teammate, a good teammate. So he's going to try and set up whoever else is there. So, like, you look at Demidov, he's a guy that can create scoring chances on his own. He can set up teammates. He's a good finisher. Like, he's got all of that. So it's basically like putting two guys with similar skill sets and similar mindsets together, which sometimes really works. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you need that, here's a passer, here's a finisher. Kind of like Patrick Kane was with Artyom Panarin and Alex DeBrincat. Like, those were guys who could finish.
Matthews,
yeah,
Matthews
Marner, Matthews.
He's a shooter. Bedard's really not that guy.
Yeah,
he can be, but he also likes assists too.
Yeah.
And someone mentioned in the chat, Teuvo Teravainen would sort of fit that mold of a pass first, kind of a winger that could help Connor Bedard. He is a free agent this summer. Don't often see guys go back to the teams they left, but money's money. Money talks. We'll see.
Yeah. And the situation's completely different.
Yeah, it
from
does.
When he was last year.
If you're going through free agents and you're talking about like the things that Kyle Davidson is looking for, Teuvo checks a lot of those boxes.
Yeah.
Plays, the whole length of the ice. Distributor. He is versatile. Can play top line. Can play third line in a pinch. Power play. Can kill penalties if you need him to. Like, he's a very versatile player. And while he's not a Mitch Marner, Leon Draisaitl, Mikko Rantanen type, he's got to make sure he makes any team in his league better. And I think he would be a very nice complementary player to Connor Bedard. So we'll see if he's on the agenda for the summer. I would expect that they probably at least make a phone call and see if he's interested. But yeah, we'll see. I don't think anything's off the table this year. I know we got a lot of questions that way, so we'll keep going. But all these questions, like, could this happen? Yes.
They all could.
Yeah, really.
Will they?
Everything could happen.
All right. Well, Jay, you mentioned money talking, and you mentioned Leon Draisaitl. So Brandon Sikora threw us a $5 super chat, and it's, does the Draisaitl quote make the Oilers look bad? It seems like Edmonton just thinks that they are entitled to win a cup, or is this just an angry player? Now, what's the quote? Because
I'm assuming the quote I know is that
goal post isn't good goal.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Yeah, that's what I think it is too.
And Leon's a guy that has.
He's been pissy.
He's expressed his frustrations a lot.
He's got some Pudwackian tendencies to him.
Is it Pudwackian, or is he just ultimate? Is he just really competitive? Because I'm sure there are a lot of guys, a lot of fans outside of Chicago that would look at the way Jonathan Toews react against every penalty against him, would say, well, that guy's a pudwhack.
Correct.
Yes.
So it's all, it's all in the eye of the beholder.
Yep.
Pudwhackiness is in the eye of the beholder.
Red ass is maybe a better word.
Yeah, he's definitely a guy that is, when he gets frustrated, is not afraid to just say, yeah, I'm frustrated. I'm tired of your questions. I don't mind the quote, though. It might come to backfire him, but he's not wrong. He's not wrong. I mean, they hit a bunch of posts, but hey, maybe Leon, next time you're wide open and the net's wide open, put it in the damn back of the net.
I mean, that's Darren Pang says they hit the post because the goalie's in good position.
So
that's a goalie speaking, of course. But
the Canucks have been thoroughly outplayed in that series, and they're getting great goaltending. And Stuart Skinner has not been as good as he was in the first round, and that's a problem.
Yep.
So we'll see how that one shakes out.
And he's probably trying to put something out there that's going to motivate and fire up the Oilers a little bit and be like, hey, guys, they're not beating us. We're beating ourselves. We hit posts. Like, like you said, like, we're good enough to beat, Arturs Silovs or whatever. Like, we can put some pucks behind him.
Stop hitting the post, put it in the back of the net. We'll be fine.
They'll be all right. They might not win it, but they'll be all right. It's not going to be like a 5-game series or anything like that.
No, because, again, if Jonathan Toews had said that after Game 4 of the 2013 conference final, you'd be like, hell yeah, that's a great quote.
Right.
Nick Leddy's butt is not a good goaltender.
It is not.
All right, let's get back to the mailbag and Discord. This is from AJ. What's the most nervous / anxious / queasy you've ever been watching the Blackhawks?
I just talked about it. Game 7 of the 2014 Western Conference Final.
2014?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's not it for me. Because at that point, the Hawks had 2 cups already. It was overtime of Game 5, 2010 against Nashville.
That was pretty bad.
Because it was at that game, season ticket holder at the time. Kane scores that ridiculous goal, shorthanded goal, to tie the game in the final minute. Goes to overtime. Everybody's going crazy. And then after like a minute or two to calm down, everybody all of a sudden realizes, oh, shit. Nashville's got a 4-minute power play to start overtime. So that 4 minutes
That's a good point.
was the most nervous I've ever been, because then the Hawks lose that game. They're down 3-2 going back to Nashville for Game 6. Who knows what happens? Now, as we've come to learn of those teams, you never count them out. They flip the switch, but they hadn't had that identity yet. Mm-hmm. That game was them starting that identity.
Yeah.
So that penalty kill was the most nervous I'd ever been at a Hawks game, and then literally seconds after the goal scored, and I could tell I didn't stick the landing of my jump when Hossa scored, so my left knee tells me every time it's about to rain, and it's about to rain apparently, according to my knee.
It certainly looks like it.
Yeah.
Looks like it.
I would say going into the end of the third period and overtime of Game 7 of the 2013 second round against Detroit, because it was against Detroit and the game should have been over. So you kind of, you go into that overtime feeling like shouldn't have to do this in overtime, and Detroit still had a chance to win and move on. And who knows how history is different if that 2013 series or that run ends in that game. But yeah, that definitely was the most nervous I've been watching this team. Most queasy, I feel like would have been the draft lottery last year. There's a lot going on there. The most nervous I felt was that Red Wings game. The most anxious I've ever felt was the first 38 minutes of 2015 Game 6 Cup Final, because it was so back and forth, and there were 2 chances that the Lightning had in the first period to take the lead. And hey, we talk about goalposts. Goalposts came up big for Corey Crawford in that game.
Good positioning.
And feeling like this, you've had the 2 cup runs, you've had deep playoff runs in 14 and 15. You're playing a really, really tough Tampa team. You're at home, close it at home. Don't go back to Tampa Bay for a Game 7. And finally, Duncan Keith broke the scoreless tie late in the second period, and fairly certain I broke my hand on the bar top after he scored, just kind of letting out those anxious nerves.
I got to give a recognition, too, because I was in the building. Game 6 of the 1996 Western Conference semifinals, the Hawks were eliminated by the Avalanche in double overtime. But that game was back and forth. It was hellacious. Both goalies were awesome. And Sandis Ozolinsh eliminates the Hawks, and that is the end of Jeremy Roenick as a Blackhawk. So that was a tough one. And I was in the building for it, so that had an extra level of stress to it. Pain.
Yeah. I think I've blocked out most of mine,
Yeah.
so I'm just going to move on here. Alan K has another one. This one's kind of funny. John Tavares playing for Team Canada. Is that a dude making sure he gets the love from Canada fans because he's about to waive his no movement clause and get traded back to a U.S. team?
Absolutely, 100%.
I love the conspiracy theory thought. Yes.
It's going back to the Islanders. You watch.
Yeah.
Ha. All right, this is from Genesis. We all know you how helpful late round draft picks becoming good players is. That's worded poorly, but that's fine. You get the point. Who's a couple of late round picks in the current system you think could pan out for the Hawks?
We got a couple.
How late are we talking?
Well, we did our top 10 show. We did third rounder later.
I mean, we already got a couple that we've seen in Ethan Del Mastro, a 4th round pick, and Wyatt Kaiser, a 3rd round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Those are guys that spring to mind right away.
Oh, it's Savoie. 3rd round?
Savoie, 3rd round pick. Nick Lardis, 3rd round pick. Gavin Hayes, 3rd round pick. Those are all guys to be excited about for sure.
Are you saying the 3rd round is late? Is that really what I thought we had went 4th?
No, we did 3rd and later for that.
It's late in hockey.
Okay.
I would
you get
say.
You get outside the top 64 and you start rolling some dice.
I mean, you could have, if you look at some accounts on Twitter, they're all going to be studs. But the 3rd round last year gave you Nick Lardis and Yuri Fleischman, who had a great season, and then you had Farhand in the 4th round, who had a big year too. So you never know. Gavin Hayes is a 3rd rounder. Aiden Thompson's a 3rd rounder. But like late rounds, maybe you get something out of Dominic James. I know he's been solid.
He played only 2 games last year and then went down with, I believe it was a knee injury and missed all of last season. So he'll be back this year with Duluth. He's the captain, so that's cool.
Yeah, and then you have a guy like Jalen Lipin, who's been with the Ice Hogs. That's a 7th round pick.
Lebowski 5 is saying Ilya Safonov.
Yeah, he's a 6th round pick.
I like Ilya Safonov as well. I hope he comes over.
He's a 6th round guy. I think he was more 6th round because of that. He's a middle of the road Russian player. Who knows if he'll ever come over? That's why he went 6th round. But I still think, if they can get him over here, and I think he's got 1 more year left on his KHL deal, that would be a nice.
He's still only, 23?
I don't even think he's that old yet. I think he's only 21 or 22. But
22. He'll be 23 on May 30th.
We've already seen guys like Louis Crevier, a 7th rounder. Isaac Phillips was a 5th rounder. Mm-hmm. But Safonov, if you get him any NHL play out of Safonov from the 6th round is a great pick.
Yep. All right, we got to re-enter the break zone. Hit that like button for us if you haven't yet. We're right on the cusp of 100 likes, and we have enough people watching to get us over that hump and many, many more. So please hit that like button for us.
Hey, if you like watching baseball in person,
you like gladiator movies?
Do it through our friends at Game Time. Get your tickets through them because Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seats, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. You love those last-minute price drops because, you could have your entire day planned and be like, it doesn't look like I'll have time to get to the game like I thought I would. And then something gets canceled, and you're like, hey, now I can get to the game. Well, you go to the Game Time app, and you see that those tickets you were looking at, well, they just got cheaper because it's now 30 minutes till the first pitch, And you jump on that deal, save yourself some money, and still see a baseball game. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute for all kinds of events, sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and you got to love the all-in pricing because that shows you all the fees and everything that's going to be up front with your ticket. You see it right away rather than right as you're about to click purchase and they say, oh, by the way, there's this hidden fee. So Game Time, take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with them. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CHGO. You're going to get $20 off your first purchase when you do that. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
And with the stress of finding tickets when you don't use Game Time and work and social media and the choices you make that screw up your life, it's no wonder we are more worked up than ever, and Coors Light, our friends, they celebrate rising above and choosing a chill mindset. Why not turn a rained-out softball game like we have tonight at CHGO into an office karaoke party, huh?
Are we doing that?
Sweet. Let's do it.
No, let's not do that. Or after a tough draft lottery loss, crack open a nice cold Coors Light, chill the mind out a little bit, make the choice to chill, reach for a Coors Light. It is mountain cold refreshment. You know we love it when those mountains turn blue because that means it's as cold as the Rockies. Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold packaged for a smoother finish. When you embrace a chill mindset, it's a good time to choose chill and crack open a Coors Light. It is mountain cold refreshment, crisp and refreshing as the Colorado Rockies. Make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door right now with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/CHGO Hockey. That's CoorsLight.com/CHGO Hockey. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
All right, back to the mailbag, and this is the last one from our friends in Discord.
All
This
right.
is from RJK. What hockey podcasts do you all listen to besides CHGO Blackhawks, which is obviously the best? Thank you.
The
First
What
of all.
Chaos podcast.
Listen to that often. I listen to 32 Thoughts all the time.
Yeah, 32 Thoughts is appointment podcasting for me because
Yeah.
they get you caught up on everything. I mean, after I listen to 32 Thoughts, I'm kind of good.
Yeah, I listen to Too Many Men, or that's a good one. I like that one a
That
lot.
one's good.
Those are the three primarily hockey ones I listen to, I would say.
I'll listen to the Athletic hockey podcast depending on who's on. They kind of rotate
Yeah.
hosts.
Yeah.
Some hosts I like better than others. It also depends on, what topics they're discussing. If there's a hot issue going around the league, then I tend to listen to different podcasts to get different viewpoints.
Yeah.
But, 32 Thoughts is go-to, especially during the playoffs. Nobody's more informed than Elliot Friedman. And anytime I got a question about something, I turn on that podcast, and I'm more informed.
Yeah. That's about it for me, though.
32 Thoughts, Jeff Merrick Show. What Chaos, as I said. Steve Dangle podcast. I've listened to that for years. It's just entertaining, even though it is primarily focused on the Maple Leafs. Even just getting into the national stuff is good. Those would be the ones that I rotate primarily.
All right, now let's move to Twitter, where many of the questions are surrounding
A lot
the
of Twitter
draft.
questions.
So
Thank
here we
you
go.
for all the Twitter questions.
First up, this is from Socks and C's, who says, I have PTSD from the 2019 draft. We received a gift from the hockey gods, and he who shall not be named took that gift and lit it on fire, laughing the entire time. Should I have any concern about Davidson doing the same thing? Me and my therapist, thank you.
No. That was the 2019 draft could have panned out differently if there wasn't a need for Kirby Dach to be an immediate contributor because we took you third overall. You have to jump right into the NHL. Like that was obviously the wrong path to go. Unfortunately, with the CHL and NHL agreement, going to the AHL is not an option for those kids, unfortunately, until they're 20 years old or whatnot. So, yeah, I mean, I don't feel like Kyle Davidson has given anybody any reason to feel like he will make the same mistakes as his predecessor because he has what seems like a completely different mentality about development and building teams the proper way, which requires patience.
Yeah, there's not been any evidence of Kyle Davidson doing anything that's weird.
Yeah.
Not yet. No.
Even with the idea of like going into this offseason and being like, hey, we can't have seasons like we just had, like that's no longer acceptable. The former GM's answer to that notion would have been, then we're going to spend to the cap. We're going to get every possible free agent we can.
Right.
Screw our draft picks. We're adding all these guys. And it would have been like, okay, we're going to go for it now, which we've seen, which happened.
Let's bring in Chris Kunitz and Cam Ward.
Let's bring in Jake McCabe and Seth Jones and Marc-Andre Fleury and Tyler Johnson and try and slap a Band-Aid on this, leaky ship. So no, Kyle Davidson is, even with the notion that he has the objective to improve the roster, it's not going to be done the way that I think a lot of people are conditioned to expect it to be done. So
Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about that. I think Kyle Davidson has clearly put his vision out there and for the most part has stuck to it.
Yeah. I also think the Kirby Doc thing in hindsight is a lot easier to be critical of. Like, look, there's I wanted them to take Bowen Byram with that pick. Fine, whatever. But it wasn't the craziest idea to take Doc third. What the craziness was to rush him. And had he not been hurt over and over and over again,
right,
he probably would have made a lot more sense. And as Michael points out, Doc is still 10th in points from that draft.
Yeah.
Despite all the injuries he's had,
Well,
only
Yeah.
9 guys have had more points than Kirby Doc in that draft. So if he's healthy, what does he miss? Almost like 2 entire full seasons.
pretty much.
I mean,
he missed. Yeah, I mean,
Well,
he
like
missed
all of this
He missed
one.
the start of his rookie year.
Yeah.
because of a concussion in what was that, in prospect
Then
camp?
he missed
Then
a
he
bunch of the
missed-
COVID year.
Yeah, the COVID year
The
because
only
he
reason he
broke
came
his
back
wrist.
because of the pause.
Yeah, that was he broke his wrist and he was kind of pushed to come back.
Right.
And he even admitted, he was just like, yeah, I was still feeling pain in those games, which is like wonderful. I'm glad you came back for that. And then I mean, he missed all but 2 games last
He
year.
missed a bunch of time last year, too. The year before, his first year in Montreal,
Yeah.
I think he only
Yeah.
played 60 games. So that's been his biggest problem. But I think now that we're coming up to the 5th anniversary of that draft, that could be a good draft for us to redraft this summer.
I agree. That'd be fun.
Because I'm looking at this list, and, man, there's no way that top 10 stays the same.
No, not a shot.
Well, that's good producing on the air there. Let's think about that for later this summer. All right, here we go. Damaged Lightning. That's at Matt D, whatever the heck his name is. I'm starting to see the Fields versus Williams debate amongst the Hawks fan base. Demidov versus Levshunov.
No, it's not that crazy.
No, it's not.
Give it some time.
He says, I know it never happened, but theoretically, do the Hawks have enough draft capital and prospects to trade up and draft both without setting the team back?
No.
No. Without setting the team back, no.
No.
Yes. Do they have enough capital to possibly trade for the number 3 pick? I
Sure.
think so, but I'm not giving up that much. Anaheim's not trading that pick.
This is how, when you send these questions in and when you have these conversations, you got to ask, why would the Anaheim Ducks trade out of 3?
Who are in the same boat as the Blackhawks.
Right.
If the 3rd pick was going to a team that was already a little bit more established, maybe you could convince them, but no. Anaheim's not doing that.
No, I don't think so. Of course, if you wanted to give them like Nazar and Korchinski and 5 first-round picks,
Yeah, but that's
sure, then they'll be, great,
Yeah.
sounds good.
But then
But it's setting the team back.
and then I'm going to be on here screaming at Kyle Davidson
Yes.
going, what are you doing, man?
Exactly.
Yes.
All right, fine. Scott.
Was that you?
No, it
was
was
that your
not. No, no,
question?
no.
Is that your burner?
And also Columbus and Montreal and Utah probably are not doing that either.
Probably
Right.
To
not.
trade up.
Definitely not Utah.
Okay, this is from at Esplo Rare Travel.
Scott.
Okay, Scott. With the multitude of picks they have at their disposal, could the Blackhawks put together a 2nd and 3rd from this year's draft and a 2nd in next year's draft to move up into the top 15 to
No.
have 3 first-round picks in this year's draft?
Second round and 3rd round picks don't equal first round picks.
Yeah, I don't. That's you're
Yeah.
going to have to do more. if you want to move up in the first round, I don't know if we have any more questions about moving up in the first round.
Oh, yes, we do.
All right. Well, then maybe I'll save it. But if you're going to move up in the first round, you have to include the 20th pick this year.
Yeah.
Or one of your 2 picks next year.
Yeah, you're probably going to have to do 20th and
or.
In theory. Yeah.
And the Blackhawks have enough assets to move up if they want to. If there's a guy they want to target, but you saw it last season, you have to have 2 teams willing to make a trade.
Yes.
They were trying to trade up last year to get Oliver Moore. Nobody was making a trade last year. This year might be a little different. It's not as crazy talented as a deep of a first round, but you still have to have a team willing to do it. Now, if it's a matter of moving up from 20th to like 17th, maybe you can get that done.
Sure.
But to move into the top 10 or even top 15, I don't see too many teams in those positions willing to say, yeah, I'll move backwards.
The other thing, too, is like, who is the guy that you would say, all right, we're going to give you 20, a second, and our first next year, whatever it might be, to get to 10? TJ Ginla, maybe?
To get to 10? To give up that much?
That's a lot to give up. That's what I'm saying. Like,
I feel like you can, to get a guy at like 10 that you're not willing to, that you're willing to give that much for, why is he there at 10? Why wasn't he taken at 5 or 4?
Kind of what I'm saying is like, who is the player there that is so earth-shattering that you had to give up that kind of an asset to get those kind of assets? I don't know if that guy's in this
if there
draft.
is a guy that Kyle Davidson just has to have, then he'll try.
And there is Blackhawks branded video footage of him attempting to do that throughout the entire first round last year. He was trying to trade up, and teams were not biting, and it just so happened that Oliver Moore fell into his lap, which is great.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, all these questions, like I said, the willingness to trade up is there, and if they love a guy, they're going to do what they can to get him. I mean, we've seen it. The other teams didn't bite. You can't blame Davidson for that. You don't want him doing anything stupid or reckless that's going to completely, wipe away 3 or 4 quality picks in the future.
With having the number 2 overall pick, just like last year with getting number 1 overall, you really don't need, just because you can doesn't mean you have to. Like, you don't really need to. You're getting the second best player in the draft already. You don't need to give up too much to get a guy 3 or 4 picks ahead of where you're going to be picking anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Christian Bolin. With the supposed rumors that the Devils could be shopping the number 10 pick, do you think the Hawks could put together a package that the Devils would be interested in?
Sure.
Like we said.
Why is it the Devils that are always interested, rumored to be trading their pick?
I don't know.
Wasn't that the Devils the year of the DeBrincat trade? That's who the DeBrincat was going to get traded to? They were going to trade.
You're right. It is always the
They
Devils.
were, they were in there. Yeah.
Well, the Devils in the details.
They were in that discussion.
Nice.
Yeah,
It's always the Devils.
Devils at 10 potentially. I mean, yeah, you could entice them to move back. You give them 20 and your first pick of the second round, which is what,
34.
34, yeah. 20 and 34 and a future 6th to get to 10, maybe. Just to throw it in there. But
there has to
again,
be a guy
or it's got to be like 20 and a player.
Well, Beelzebub says
Reichel
to the Devils and a 20.
Trading Reichel. Reichel was getting traded to the Maple Leafs a few minutes ago.
You don't sign
want Reichel
to a 2-year extension to then
I just like
trade him 2 weeks later. They're not
just like the bozo from Toronto that said Seth Jones and Nick Foligno in a first round from Mitch Marner.
There is no salary cap. It's Toronto.
Not only that, but like, what is it? This Missing Curfew podcast? Shane O'Brien, is that him?
Oh.
Yeah. We'll give you Mitch Marner for your first round pick, Seth Jones and Nick Foligno. All right, you should stop talking because there are so many things wrong with that. The salary cap.
Was he saying number 2 also?
The 20th pick.
Oh, 20.
20 Seth Jones and Nick Foligno to add salary to a team that doesn't have salary cap.
Well, let alone the Blackhawks aren't trading Nick Foligno.
Right.
Pay attention, dude.
Or
For somebody who's supposedly to be an insider, do 2 seconds of research and realize that Nick Foligno isn't getting traded.
Sometimes people will say things without thinking.
What? Get the hell out of here.
It happens.
How dare you, sir?
Okay, fine.
keep
you
going.
mentioned him earlier. This is from Bill Jernant. Would love to see the Hawks package a future first-round pick and or a second-rounder or two to move up from number 20 to around the top 10 and pick Taj Iginla. Your thoughts? Let's just keep this on Iginla, I guess.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, I would have no issue with that. I really like Iginla, but again, first of all, I have a really hard time thinking he falls past the Calgary Flames there at number 9.
Yeah.
I have a hard time. I know mock drafts have them picking somebody
The
else,
story would be great.
but I mean, a team that needs a PR boost, it's the Calgary Flames. And getting the best player to ever play for your team's son, who's actually really, really good, that's pretty damn good PR.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's too easy of a pick for them to make. So I don't think he'd even be there at 10.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think
Or Seattle can ruin it and pick him at 8 and screw Calgary over.
For what it's worth,
Pretty good.
ESPN's mock draft has Iginla going 5th to Montreal. So that's, and look,
Okay.
it's one outlet, but it's where places like he is not. I don't even think he's gonna be there at 10.
I
don't think he'll
he
be
has
there at 10.
rocketed up the draft boards. That's for sure. Yeah, no, I don't know if he's going to be there at 10. I think we're talking about trading up. You know, we had Chris Peters on last week, and you know he talked about how the difference in the draft board changes when you get to 15. Because after 15, you're going to see there is a gap in talent. So, you know, with moving up, getting into 10 at New Jersey's pick, I think would be maybe that works. Getting to I think was Buffalo 12. That could be a team, or 11 or 12. That could be a team that maybe you get in contact with about moving up, but there's going to be other teams that want to move up as well.
Right.
So, you know, I think if you're looking to get into that top 15, teams will know that you're doing it for a specific reason, because you're not wanting to try and wait till 20 or wherever you're at to have a guy fall. So that's going to make them feel like, well, we kind of have, some leverage here. They're gonna make you sweat it out. So I don't know. I don't know if there's anyone that's going to be in that 10 to 15 range that you throw the book at a team to get that pick. And I don't think that that's going to necessarily be Kyle Davidson's strategy.
Okay, how about this one? This is from Matt Dusold. Historically, how often has it happened, and how much would it take to move up from 20? If Yzerman falls to the 10-12 range, it feels like you need to find a way to pair a goal scorer with Bedard, even with the negatives attached to him.
Yeah, that's, again, it doesn't happen a lot. Usually when you see guys moving up in later rounds. It doesn't happen a ton in the first round. Now, the Hawks did it to get Nick Schmaltz, I believe. They moved up 2 spots to get ahead of the Blues, who already had his brother. Mm-hmm. So they were afraid they were going to lose him. So that was the last time I remember the Hawks doing it.
They moved back in the 2017 draft with Dallas. They flip-flopped with Dallas, and I think they got an extra 3rd-round pick. Dallas moved up from, I think it was 28 or 27 to 25, took Jake Ottinger. Chicago went back and took Yokiharu.
Right.
So good job, Dallas.
It does happen, but it's usually not a huge jump. It's usually like a team that's like 3 picks away knows the team ahead of them is going to pick their guy, and they just want to move ahead of that team. Mm-hmm. You don't see a lot of, I'm going to move from 20 to 9th. That doesn't happen a lot. Mm-hmm. You see that more in the NFL, and the NHL is a little, and, if depending on, like, okay, you use Cole Yzerman as your example there, but
I gotta imagine.
I mean, wouldn't a team like 11 or 12 want Cole Yzerman? It's tough with some of these moves, and this obviously based on our chat here since the draft lottery, even before the draft lottery, and all of our questions this week. People want to see them move up some way. Don't get mad if they don't. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Don't get mad if they don't. Maybe the guy they want is there at 20, and you don't, like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Maybe you use some of those picks to get an already established young player, or a guy that's playing on an AHL team.
I'd almost rather do that.
Maybe you look at a team that's got some talented young AHL players, but their NHL team is also really good, and they're getting pushed out. They don't have the spot. Maybe that's who you use a second round pick to go after and get. Do you have options? We all predicted last year, I think, that the Blackhawks weren't going to make what they have, 13 picks, 11 picks? We all were like, oh, no way they're making all those picks, and they did.
They traded one of them.
Did they?
Second round. They
That's
had 4
right.
second-round picks.
Because
they traded one of them.
because they. But I don't think they're going to make all these picks either.
Yeah, I mean, you got 7 picks in the first 3 rounds. Even if you just use all 7 where they stand, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Right.
good to
Yeah.
to
And M
have
says
that
Arizona did it a few
added.
years ago. Yes, a few years ago. I didn't say it never happens. I said
Well, and that's a first.
rarely happens.
A first.
2 seconds.
2 seconds and 2 second-round picks that happen in the first,
Right.
15.
So that would have to be what the Hawks do this year, most likely. Give up the
basically-
20th, and
it's basically 3 1.5-round picks.
right.
For 11.
The Hawks would have to do that to move
Yeah.
up. The 20th, the 34th, and whatever their next pick is in the second round.
Yeah.
Was that I believe that was a Connor Geeky pick, if I'm not mistaken. 2022. I got to look into that.
Yeah.
I thought Connor Geeky was a Carolina draft pick.
Morgan Geeky. It's one of the Geekies.
I don't know.
Whatever.
Who cares? They're dead.
They were all wearing matching suits.
By the way, I do have a poll question on
yes.
today's show saying, would you like to see the Blackhawks trade assets or picks to move up from the number 20 pick in the draft? And 73% of the voters are saying yes.
2022.
That's not surprising. I mean, that doesn't surprise me at all. I
People like moves.
yeah, people like transactions. They like to get a better player than a worse player.
Yeah.
I just, it's don't get greedy. Just trust the process. So far, Kyle Davidson's done a really good job of building up this pipeline, and what needs to be seen next is what he can do with the NHL team. But I don't know, Greg. I'm kind of with you. Like what you said, maybe if you're using those assets, like if you're willing to deal 20, maybe you deal it for something a little more proven, maybe a few years older.
Maybe an RFA on a team that's got cap.
Trade for the rights for somebody or something.
Somebody mentioned Natchez in the chat. Maybe it was Gravely Diggs or Dr. Horsch or one of those guys. One of those Halloween themed names. But that's the guy. If I still don't think there's any way that the Hurricanes let him go. But if that's a guy whose RFA rights get on the market, then yeah, that's a guy I would give up number 20 overall and maybe another second round pick to grab. Absolutely. That's a 25-year-old that's already established and makes your team a hell of a lot better, and he can be here for 6 to 8 years and contribute. So maybe that's another road. I guarantee you that Kyle Davidson and his staff have every single scenario mapped out. Nothing that's being brought up in the chat or in mailbag questions I guarantee you that has been gone over 10 times in the Blackhawks front office and will be gone over 20 times. They've probably got the Always Sunny in Philadelphia pin board going on. And
Pepe Silva.
I trust this staff. I trust this regime to make well-informed, smart decisions, whatever it is.
The only thing that we've heard via mailbag that I would wholly dismiss is trading up for 3. I don't think Anaheim's doing that.
No.
I don't think they're interested in moving out of that pick, nor should they.
Damn it.
So,
I want both.
well, I mean, that would be wonderful.
So does everybody else.
Go nuts, please do. I mean, if you want to, Anaheim, let's talk, but I can't imagine that happening.
But before we get to the last couple of questions that we're going to do today, I just wanted to note that poll question I referenced, there are over 330 votes
Wow.
on that where you just
Seems like there should be more
click
likes.
a button. But yeah, there's only
Yeah,
135
we got 288
likes.
people liking and only 135 likes.
Why is that?
That's bad math.
Very bad math.
Make it make sense.
Even this guy who's bad at math knows that's bad math.
But anyways, now that I've put that out into the world, let's go back to the mailbag to old Sneaky Pete. Assuming the Hawks decide to draft a goalie every year, what pick this year would you like to see them use to get a netminder?
Late.
Yeah.
They used a second rounder last year for Guyan. If you're going to draft one, your last pick is a good spot for that.
Yeah, let's see what you've got. Some goalies that you like in the system with Comezzo and Guyan, and let's just see how that develops. And then, but you're right. I don't mind taking a flyer on a
Take
goalie
a goalie every
draft.
year with your last pick unless you need. But yeah, you have Comezzo, you have Guyan. Those are both second-round picks. People still high on Staubert. I don't think the organization is as high on him as certain fans are. But still, draft a goalie every year. You can never have too much goaltending in your organizational pool. But this year, late 6, 7, whatever your last pick is. If there's a goalie you like there, go for it.
Third round, Carter George. Just helped Team Canada win gold at the U18s. Plays for Owen Sound. Good size. Solid guy. He'll be there in the third round.
All right. So Mario says go much earlier.
There you go.
Well, that's third round. That's a late round pick according to our standards.
Yeah,
so.
according to your standards, that don't make sense. All right. This is from George Slater, who's at Jorge Guapo 22. Love that one. Outside of Demidov or Levshunov, who are one or two players you most want the Hawks to draft? Could be at pick 20 or further on in the draft. Perhaps another.
I like a guy who could be there. We talked to Chris Peters. Maybe might be inching into that late first round range. Everything leading up to this draft so far I've been seeing is that he'll be potentially around for that early second round pick. If he's available at 34, I would really love EJ Emery. I'm starting to really love everything that I've seen about him. Good size, good mobility. He's not a flashy offensive guy, but he's one of those steady defensemen that you can just rely on to be solid in his own zone, play well in transition, play physical if you need to, and sounds like a lot like Alex Vlasic to me. When I watch him, I don't really see a lot of holes in his game defensively. I think there's things that players will learn as they mature, but he's a guy that I've through looking at the at the draft board and prospects and everything. He's a guy that I'm starting to fall more and more in love with as a potential non-first round guy, but more and more people are paying attention to him now.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's there in the second round. That'd be wonderful. I know he doesn't fit the Levshunov check boxes of right-handed, all-around guy that can chip in offensively, but I think he's a solid, steady defenseman. He was with the U.S. program, and he's going to North Dakota, so it's a good program to go to.
Yeah, as far as 20 goes, if Michael Haig is there, I don't know if he will be, but if he's there, that's a kid I would like to jump on if you're not going defenseman there. I would imagine the Hawks probably got to see a lot of him in the fact that, with the steal.
Right there with the steal.
That's a guy in the 20 range. Second round guys, I've really gotten to like Dean Letourneau a lot.
That's mine.
I think
6'6", 210 up the middle solves a lot of problems.
I think he's a guy that could be there, one of those second round picks. 34 might be a little high for him, but again, when you got five picks in the first,
you got 3 second rounds,
and you got 5 in the first 2, including number 2.
Yeah,
you can quote reach a little bit. Those are the 2 guys I like a lot. And here's a name that I think would be fun just to play in Chicago. Maybe one of those second round picks from the Waterloo Blackhawks of the USHL. John Mustard. Gotta have Mustard in Chicago.
Damn
I
right.
guess so.
But he's actually a pretty good player too. So
fuck Jimmy Ketchup. He could stay the hell out.
Yeah, no. Jimmy Ketchup will never play in Chicago, but Johnny Mustard would. And he's 6 foot, 185 pounds. He'll get a little bigger, especially when he gets that Vienna hot dogs.
The endorsement.
Yeah. So maybe that's a guy to keep out for one of those those early second round picks.
Hey, maybe we should promote the July 22nd Cookout Classic.
Yeah,
Speaking of mustard.
Speaking of hot dogs.
Speaking of
Yeah,
mustard.
speaking of mustard.
Maybe Johnny Mustard will join us if he's a Blackhawk prospect. And
It could be by then. That's for sure.
maybe.
yes, July 22nd, our inaugural Cookout Classic. Can't say first annual, or Herb will get mad at
Or
us.
we'll murder you if you do
Yes,
that.
and he's
He's a murderous man.
He's on edge these days, having to watch the White Sox every day, so I'm not pushing his buttons. But join us at the St. Andrews Golf and Country Club. Not that St. Andrews.
Yeah, the other one.
The one in West Chicago.
The better one.
But it's going to be a lot of fun.
The travel is on you.
9 a.m. shotgun start. Early bird pricing going on right now. We're going to have some
get your
great
tickets now.
prizes. Each player is going to get a nice little gift bag. You can get book your twosomes or foursomes. Do that early. I know those sold out a lot last year for the Kickoff Classic, which is also returning this year. But join us on July 22nd. All your CHGO pals will be there.
It's my wife's birthday, but she's like, yeah, go play. I was like, is this a trick? Are you tricking me?
That's a trap.
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
I don't know. I think you got to the point in your marriage where she's like, yes, you out of the house all day is a great
please
birthday
leave.
present.
I insist on you leaving.
It's very possible.
And, of course, if we haven't mentioned it already, Die Hard save on this event, just like all of our events.
20%.
So, good day to become a Die Hard.
Save 20% on the early bird pricing. It's basically free.
There you go.
Who doesn't like free
Science.
Right?
All right, we got one more quickie.
We have plenty more questions if you want.
Let's do the one you had queued up about.
How about one more that is not about
this one?
trading up or 20 or
okay,
anything
let's
like
end
that.
with this one. This is from Kevin Zunick, who asks simply, drums or flats?
Flats.
Chicken wings.
I'm a flats
Man,
guy.
It's
There's more meat on the flats.
I had chicken wings last night for dinner, and I have a system in which the order I get, I eat the flats first, and I eat the drums second. But I don't know if it's I eat the flats first because you eat them differently than the drums, and I want to eat them first in the process of eating them, or if it's because I like the drums more, I save them for second. I don't know. I've never figured that out, but that is my process, and that would be my answer.
I know we're supposed to have passionate opinions about food things like this, but I just love chicken wings.
Yeah, I know.
Give them all to me. I will say
great.
though, when I go to when we get Salerno's and the wings are there, I'll usually grab a drum first.
Yeah.
Just I don't really know why. I think just ease of eating is part of it. But I love them both. I know you're supposed to be like, oh, I'll fight you if you do this with your food.
If I had
That's my take on that. Eat what you like.
If I had
Don't
my
apologize.
order of wings handed to me and one was all drums and all flats, I would take all drums. I think so.
Yeah.
That's my answer.
If you had to choose, if you had to
The
choose.
aforementioned wife and I, when we get wings, she always goes flats and I'll eat the drums, and I'm
That's
totally
perfect.
cool with
See,
that.
look at that.
Yeah.
And that's why I can golf with you guys on July 20th.
Beautiful.
There you go.
There you go. All right, we got a lot more to get to tomorrow, and we will. Reminder, Thursday, Cam Robinson from Elite Prospects. Friday, former Blackhawk Brendan Perlini. So a big week on the show here. We'll finish up your mailbag stuff tomorrow. And who knows what news might come between now and then.
Rangers and Hurricanes. Does the series end tonight?
No.
No, I'm going to say no.
I say it does.
Okay, fair enough. We'll see. The Rangers look real good. They look real good.
Sure do.
I underrated them for sure.
No, they had their 7-game winning streak, 4-game losing streak. They're done, my friend.
Okay. I'll put a bet on that one.
Not me.
We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. It's good for the game when Rangers are involved, even though they're one of the 30 teams that Greg hates. It'll be fun either way. We'll talk about it tomorrow and get to the rest of your questions, of course. So we'll talk to you then. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out. Make sure you're already subscribed. And remember, become a diehard so you can save on our golf outing. And if you're already a diehard, thank you. You can save on the golf outing. So go to allchgo.com, get your tickets, sign up so you don't miss out on a great, great event. We'll talk to you on Tuesday at 2:30 on the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.